Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. My name's Ebony with Your Choice Health Inc., and I'm so happy to bring to you Mr. Deepak. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Emily. I'm really excited for our conversation. Thank you for having me today.
Tell me more about how you got started doing what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to take a step back here. So I was always the chubby kid growing up, right? I can't remember a time when I wasn't. When I was 17, 18 years old, I was morbidly obese. So I'm a little bit under 6 feet. I was well over 270 pounds. So by definition, I was morbidly obese. So at the 100 pounds heavier than I am now. Um, I always got sick all the time, like chronically. 3, 4 times a year for months at a time. They can never really figure out. They thought I had allergies and this, and they'd even saying you have bronchitis and blah blah blah, and you never really could sort of figure it out. But the
Yeah.
real impetus to my change was 8 years ago when I hurt my back really bad. I had no flexion, so I couldn't bend over. So as you can imagine, that makes putting on your socks, tying your shoes very difficult. Getting in and out of a chair, which includes getting in and out off the toilet. But
Mhm.
my real low point was my youngest daughter was just a baby at the time. I couldn't bend over enough to pick her up out of her crib. I didn't recognize it myself at the time. I wasn't golfing, I wasn't running, pain all the time, but I couldn't pick up my daughter. I was probably in depression, deep depression. I didn't, in hindsight now. So in trying to find ways to heal my back, and we can talk about that in a bit, um, not only did I heal my back, but the last 60 of that 100 pounds melted away in a number of months, and my autoimmune condition just cleared up, just
Beautiful.
magically, all in making the lifestyle changes primarily in that accompanied what I did to heal my back. And I haven't looked back since. People started asking me, coworkers. So I'm a CPA by profession. I worked in, corporate world for 20 plus years. Coworkers, business associates, colleagues, et cetera. I was like, kind of started to notice, and they're like, hey, like you're looking good. Like, what are you doing? Can I buy
Right.
you a coffee? Can I take you out for lunch? And I'm started like, oh, like this is what I learned, and read this book and here and try this and blah blah blah. And pretty soon I came to realize I was like, I actually like doing this more. And I was always someone who was looking at a mentor. I studied, not studied, I coached youth sports, et cetera, when I was younger. So I was always kind of that mind frame. So I started informally coaching people. And I ruminated that for like a couple, like a year, 18 months. And then I was just like, I think I need to do this. So I decided, no, I'm doing this. So I started my company, got some early certifications, started working with people primarily who were like me, uh, weight loss, back pain. But as I evolved as a person, as I evolved in what I wanted to become with my life, and I had that mindset shift, Ebony
Yes.
can relate,
Yes.
and maybe some of your
Mindset.
listeners and people attending the summit can relate as well. When you're not feeling your best, whatever that looks like for you, you just want to make it to the end of the day. Maybe just get
Yeah.
to the weekend or that next vacation, or even from a business sense, or it's like, oh, if I just get that next promotion, if I just get that next raise, or blah 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 blah. We all know these things, right?
Right.
Once I had that mindset shift, and I was like, why do I have to accept society's norms around aging? What I thought before, what I viewed with my grandparents and my parents to extent of, when you get to a certain age, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. Maybe you're in a
Right.
home, you have dementia, Alzheimer's, et cetera. And I have the Alzheimer's gene, and I have Alzheimer's in my family. So that's something I'm very sensitive about. But I had that mindset shift. I was like, why should I accept that? Once I got
Right.
my mind around that and did more research, I'm like, there is absolutely no reason with modern technology, and well, starts with fundamentals, ancient fundamentals that our grandmothers and our great grandmothers preached, that societies tend to gotten away from. Layer on the cutting edge science. There's absolutely no reason why someone who's wants that can't live to 100 plus. And I have a publicly stated goal to be centenarian.
Right. So, what exactly is a centenarian?
When I say that, that's again not living in a home, tubes in my nose, etc. That's sorry, being in a
Living.
home. I want to live in my own home. I want to
Right.
play with my
Right.
great grandchildren, be able to get on the floor and stand up, no problem, no pain. Snowshoe, stand up paddleboard, which is one of my passions, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I'm talking about healthy aging. So I
Definitely.
shifted my focus from just weight loss and back pain as I evolved, also my skill set. Now I work with people, primarily leaders, to shift their mindset around aging so they know what's possible. And it's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to live to 100, but we want to expand our health span. It's not about our how long we live. It's how long we're healthy. So you might still get cancer, you might still get whatever, but isn't it better to get it when you're 80, 90, 100 as opposed to 50, 60, 70? So if we can push all those things out, so everything about aging gracefully, aging healthily also translates to disease prevention, et cetera, et cetera. So
Right.
that's what I'm all about.
And so that makes me think about, I see on your bio that you are a self-proclaimed biohacker.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
Well, there's a lot of definitions about biohacking. The way I look at it is kind of as I alluded to earlier, sort of taking the fundamentals, the ancient practices, and layer on the cutting edge science on top. Things that are out there, proven, journal, peer reviewed, but your GP or your maybe even your specialist either doesn't know or can't even tell you about because
Yeah.
it's out of their scope, right? So I kind of play in that range, but I just call it, better living through science. Better living through science is that's my definition of it, how I approach it for myself.
Nice, I can align with that. Now, how do you individualize your approach to clients wanting to achieve living a long, healthy life?
Yeah, so there's essentially, I feel, seven large buckets that one needs to address for longevity, let's call it. And of course, there's multiple topics in those seven. So when I work with people in my group program, we touch on the first five, and then when I work with people individually, we get the other two in there as well. And again, I think the key is that it's very customizable to people. There's no one size fits all nutrition plan for
Okay.
anyone, obviously, right? And anyone who tells you otherwise, I think is just a bunch of BS. We're all individualized, right? We have different goals, different ages, shapes, activity levels, ethnicities, culturally, genetically, epigenetically, et cetera. And again, with my one-on-one clients, we do a lot of testing and get right down to it. But I think there's again those five fundamentals to start with, and that's mindset and motivation, which I already talked about. And I like to say, the number one thing that I like to work on with people to get them really keyed into, really tuned into, is their purpose. Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to live to 100 like I do, et cetera, et cetera, and really tie that in. I have people tell me it's like I want to be there for my grandkids. I want to be able to see them, you know, um, to their wedding or their graduation or whatever it might be. I want
Right.
to, steward my business so I can pass it on to my kids. And that's why I need to be healthier for another 20 years, whatever. There's a million things. But really, when you tie that in, I call it the head and the heart, right? Once you have that purpose, that why, that guiding light, that northern star, whatever you want to call it, then all the decisions you make, you can tie back to that. So I always start with that mindset and motivation. Okay, and I'm getting high level here. There's a lot of things including that. Obviously, there's the nutrition piece, right? I call it controlling your glycemic variability. You work
Okay.
with people with diabetes, so you totally understand that. But of course, there's a lot of things in that as well. There's movement, right? The right movement for you that works for your situation. There's all this stress reduction piece as well, and there's a lot of things that fall in that, sleep, etc. And then environmental factors. We can't discount the environmental factors that play such a huge role in our weight gain or weight loss and all of these other sort of conditions that might come up. So those are the five fundamentals that I work with people in my group program. And then we add on for my one-on-one clients, we talk about the sixth area is basically, I call it risk reward, right? If you're going to, every choice we make has a consequence of some sort, right? So is the risk, is the reward greater than the risk, et cetera. So as an example, if somebody wants to ride a motorcycle, great. That's not for me, but that's what you want to do, fine, right? So hopefully you're wearing a helmet. Hopefully you're
Right.
wearing, leathers and stuff like that when you're riding or whatever, right? So, but if you should crash, and hopefully you don't, but if you should, and you're going to probably bonk your head, are you taking supplements for brain health? If you ride a motorcycle, I would suggest you probably should. That's just one way to mitigate
That
damage
makes
if you
sense.
should have an accident. And there's countless examples like that. And then the very last bucket, again, not for everyone, it's that advanced cutting edge technology. So it could be somebody wanting to get, oh, my doctor says I need shoulder surgery. Well, do you? Maybe you just need a stem cells injection or exosomes or something like that as a cutting edge, or maybe it's adding some tech so that you can, manipulate your own biology using technology. And I got some examples here on my desk if we go down that road later. Could even be like medical tourism. So I have a vast array of my network of regenerative medicine doctors, functional medicine doctors all around the world. So if somebody wants to get something that's not available in their location, or maybe at a better price, etc. I can steer in the right direction. You could call it like medical tourism or something like that, right? So
Now, I want to make sure I address this. Can you speak to the role of stress management and emotional well-being in aging?
absolutely, it's super important. So I'll answer it a couple different ways. So again, in that mindset and motivation bucket, I think our relationships play a huge role in our health overall, and how we're going to age healthily, right? If we have a lot of conflict in our personal relationships, we hold on to grudges, et cetera, et cetera. That actually eats on us inside. Like this has been proven by science. We know this. People intuitively know this, but do they do anything about it? So
Right.
that's one thing, right? So we have to have a relationship in check. It's also community, the community you belong to, and are you engaged? And that becomes even more. I mean, it's important your entire life, but it's even more important as you get older. A lot of elderly people suffer from isolation, and that sort of thing, and that actually causes a lot of mental stress, a lot of distress, and does not help with your aging. So community relationships, those are super important. And then stress comes from so many places. I
Everywhere.
said there's the environmental factors. How much sleep did you get? And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the food you eat is probably the number one stressor that people are doing to themselves on purpose,
You
or
know,
unconsciously. Maybe it's unconsciously for some people, right? But food, if it's the wrong food for you, it could be a superfood or whatever, but if it's not right for you, then it's a stressor for you. So that's again
yeah.
something I address with people, is to identify those things and let's substitute them out, or one, make them aware, and if need be, substitute them out. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. I hope you all have been taking notes. Are there any more tips you can share with our audience?
Yeah, again, I think the number one is really to, whatever your goal might be, maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's living to 100 like me or whatever. It's like, again, I think starts with getting down to why is this important to you? Because any goal you can, by sheer willpower, some people, yeah, I can do that for 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, a year. But after about 2 years, like if you haven't really ingrained that and really made that habit, like some people, and most people can't even go 2 years, but like by sheer willpower, we could probably make it 2 years. But after that, if you're not tied to that purpose, that why, that bigger picture, you're going to fade out. So I think that's
Yeah.
super important. So that's the number one thing, is like, why do you want to X, whatever your goal is? So that'd be the number one thing. And the number two, and it's not for everyone, and sometimes it can get a little expensive, I understandably, but I think if you really want to move the dial, um, do it yourself can only take you so far. Work with somebody qualified. That could be a coach like myself, could be a functional medicine doctor, naturopathic doctor, somebody beyond the GP. And I'm not trying to throw GPs under the bus or anything like that, but by definition, what they can tell you and what their scope of practice and knowledge is limited. Let's just be honest about
Right.
that. So
Right.
work with somebody, to really move the dial, whatever that looks like for you. And some of that might also include doing some individualized testing. Like, what are you allergic to? Really, truly, not just
Right.
like, I don't like broccoli. Well, I'm allergic to it. And have you tested? So I'm big into quantification for those who want to go down that route.
Mhm.
And then tracking things, like I'm wearing this ring where I track my sleep, and and really can dial in and really focus on, like, oh, I had this last night, my sleep was crummy. Is there a correlation? Maybe there isn't, but something to be aware of, etc. Things like, I think for people, I just say, just take that step, that first step. Even if you have a setback, you're going to try to do X, maybe cut alcohol for a month, or
Right.
cut something, or whatever. They're trying to drink more water, like whatever it is, like just take that step, and don't beat yourself up about it if you relapse or forget a day or something. Just go forward with it, and just have. And the other thing I would say, I guess we didn't really talk about this, is just have intention with
Mhm.
whatever you're doing. We didn't get too much into this, but I'll just use this as one example because I think it really fits in here. So, when I was sick and fat, my favorite food was pizza. My
Mhm.
favorite food is still pizza, but it does not serve me and does not serve my long-term goals.
Right.
That being said, my youngest daughter, the one I mentioned earlier, it is her favorite food, and she would eat it every day if she could. So probably once every 10 days or 2 weeks, we have pizza as a family because she loves it.
Right.
Now, it doesn't serve me completely. but I don't want to, and we do eat different things slightly because again, my genetics is different than my wife's, is different than my kids, and my kids are a different life stage, so we eat slightly a little bit differently. So, but point being is that those days, every couple of weeks, we have pizza, and I know it's going to harm me, but I eat it with intention,
Mhm.
knowing what I'm going into, because I want to share this moment with my family, share this meal with my family.
Mhm.
That being said, I also, take some supplements and do some other practices to mitigate the risks as well, but I'm not avoiding it. So that's just a long-winded way of saying, whatever you want to do, whatever change you want to make, do it with intention, and you'll be much more successful.
I completely agree with every point you just made there. Can you tell us about any upcoming projects or any new developments that will be coming up?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So I mentioned the group program. So that's something I actually just started new this year. So the first cohort has just started now. So my second my second cohort will be starting in April. So really looking forward to that. And maybe
Cool.
some of your listeners and some of the people attending might be interested in that. It's a 10-week program. Again, touch on those 5 buckets that I mentioned earlier. It's called Putting Aging on Pause, and it's a good, I think, introductory to people to really start to move the dial and make those habit changes to put aging on pause. So really excited about that. That's new for 23. And then I know this is a good time to, I'm sure it'll be in the show notes, but I also have a free gift for all the listeners as well.
Definitely.
So
Yes, please do.
yeah, so it can be found at, let me explain it. It's a guide. So it kind
Okay.
of tells you a high level of some of the areas to really move this stress in your life, plus a 30-day tracker. So kind of learn about the things, and it's up to you to choose what you want to track for 30 days. Again, like I just mentioned, you really have to get to that purpose, the heart and the head of why you want to do that. But 30 days is a good start to start
Mhm.
making progress on certain goals that you have. So this free guide, and it's can be found on my website, deepaksanihealth.com/freebie. I'm sure it'll be listed below for people. But yeah, and that's a good way just
Definitely.
to get the guide, start tracking some things that are important to you, and also become part of my ecosystem and see what I'm up to in the future.
Now, guys, I really hope that you all enjoyed this wonderful interview with Mr. Deepak Saini and that you're sticking around and ready for some more awesome interviews like this one. Yes, nice, nice.